Welcome to Study Spectrum. The chapter that we are going to tackle today is CBSE 9th standard, third poem, Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments by William Shakespeare. The meaning of the word gilded means a building, a monument that is covered with a layer of gold. For example, in Amritsar you have a Gurudwara called Golden Temple. So the dome of that temple is having a thin layer, a thin sheet of gold covering that monument. So that's a gilded monument. So when the poet is saying, when William Shakespeare is saying not marble, not the gilded monuments, so he is talking about those monuments which are made of marble, like Taj Mahal, or those monuments which have a layer of gold on them, those monuments like the Golden Temple. So he is saying neither these nor these. What about them? We'll discover in the poem. In the beginning of the poem, in the textbook they have posed us with two web diagrams. They've given us a cloud saying things that last for centuries. What's centuries? What's a century? We say Sachin Tendulkar hit a century means he hit 100 runs. So last for centuries means that which will last for hundreds and hundreds of years. The example that they have already given us in the book is mountains. Once a mountain is created, it will last for hundreds and hundreds of years. So what they are expecting us to write in these arrows are other such things that will last for more than 100 years. So we definitely cannot write humans. We die. Generally, on an average, we die before we hit a century. So we cannot write humans. But what are the other things that we can think of that will last for more than 100 years? Perhaps a tortoise. Certain species of tortoise are known to live more than 100 years. Certain particular types of trees live for more than 100 of years. What else? Planets. Actually, not only planets, stars, suns, moons, all celestial bodies, all heavenly bodies that we see in the sky last for more than hundreds of years. What else can you think of? Can you think of a mobile phone lasting for more than 100 years? No. A camera, a light bulb? No. So what are the other things that you can think of? Perhaps the ocean. Perhaps a lake or a river. The Indus Valley civilization has been going on for so long because of the river that flows there. The Ganga and the Brahmaputra mentioned 5,000 years ago also. So these are the things that last for centuries. Now in the next bubble that they have given us in the textbook, they are saying things that perish. Perish means die, finish, over. So things that perish and or be forgotten over a period of time. Now something like this and or with a slash in between, what does it mean? It means things that perish and are forgotten over a period of time, or things that perish or be forgotten. So it has not perished, but yet it is forgotten. So they are talking about two things over here. One is certain things that finish, and that's why they are forgotten. Or they are still standing, they are erect, but they are forgotten. So perish and or be forgotten. Okay. So here again they have given us example of mountains. So we can have certain stars over a period of time. They may last or they may die, but they are forgotten. At least planets, we remember them. We know our 9 planets by heart. Now they say it is 8 planets. But stars, we tend to forget, we don't even know the names. We know one star, that is the sun. What else? Certain monuments. We go and visit the Qutub Minar, we go and visit the Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower in Paris. These are monuments that we know. They are famous. We've not forgotten them, they have not perished. But there are certain monuments, certain maqbaras and certain buildings and architectures which have been built, and they are either perishing or they have already perished, but they are definitely forgotten. We don't even visit them. So certain monuments, certain rivers and lakes, not oceans. We know that there are only 7 oceans. So we cannot forget them. Neither have they perished, neither have we forgotten them. But certain rivers, either they're there and we've forgotten about them, or they perish and that's why we don't even know there used to be a river over here or there used to be a lake over here. Certain people, become very famous. Isaac Newton, he discovered gravity. William Shakespeare, William Wordsworth, certain Marilyn Monroe. These people last and last forever. But things that perish and or be forgotten over a period of time. What about certain people who we just don't know about? They have perished or they are not alive, but we don't know about them. So we come in this category. So why they have taken up 2 such bubbles like this? Because our poetry concerns with something like this. So we'll go ahead and see what William Shakespeare is trying to tell us in the poem. So now let us look at more details of the poem. What is happening is that this poem is a particular type of a poem. It's a sonnet. William Shakespeare has written many sonnets. His style of writing was generally that each poem was a sonnet. Now what is a sonnet? Sonnet actually is derived from an Italian word. That Italian word is sonetto. What is the meaning of sonetto? It means a little sound or a little song. So from that we have derived the word in English sonnet. Sonnet is a type of a poem which is of 14 lines, only and only 14 lines, not 13 lines, not 15 lines. A sonnet will have only 14 lines. It has first paragraph of 4 lines, second paragraph of 4 lines, that makes it 8 lines, third paragraph again of 4 lines, which makes it 12 lines, and then it has a fourth paragraph which is only of 2 lines, like Kabir Das Dohe, Rahim ke Dohe, 2 line couplets. So the last 2 line is a couplet. So that is 4, 4, 4, 12 plus 2, 14 lines. That is the pattern that is followed. In a sonnet, 14 lines is divided into 8 plus 6, not 12 plus 2. That's the pattern in which it is written. But it is divided into 8 lines plus 6 lines. Your 8 line, the first 2 paragraphs of 4 lines each, is known as an octet. And the last 6 lines, that is the 4 lines plus the 2 line couplet, is known as a sestet. So an octet and a sestet together combine to make a 14 line sonnet. If you notice the poem in your textbook, you will notice that it is 14 lines. It is 4, 4, 4 plus 2. That's an octet and a sestet. So let us look more into the poem. What exactly is William Shakespeare telling us through this sonnet? Now that we have looked into the details of the poem, that it's a sonnet, it's written by William Shakespeare, they are talking about things that perish, that can be remembered, that may be forgotten. Let us get down to the actual poem. I have written for you the first paragraph of the poem. So in the first paragraph, William Shakespeare is saying, not marble, nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme. But you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone, besmeared with sluttish time. This is the first paragraph. Now, if I first tell you the meanings of some of the difficult words, because it was not difficult words for Shakespeare, that was old English. That is the kind of English they used so many years ago. So, gilded I have already told you, it means something that is gold plated. Like we have jewelry that is gold plated. So, this is an entire monument, an entire building which has a gold plating on top. I gave you the example of Golden Temple in Amritsar. The dome is gold plated. So, any monument, any building which has a complete plating of gold on it is a gilded monument. The next word here that is looking difficult is unswept stone. Unswept stone means a monument, a building that is made of stones and it is uncared for. Nobody is taking care of it. Nobody is restorating it. It is going on perishing. It is going on becoming worse in its condition. It is going to die soon. The monument is going to collapse. Then besmeared. Besmeared. The E is missing here. Instead of the E there is an apostrophe, so it's an abridged word. Besmeared means tarnished, spoiled, made into bad condition. By whom? Sluttish time. Sluttish, unclean habits. A slut actually is a whore, a call girl, a lady who is doing bad business of her body. So he has converted this word slut into an adjective sluttish. He is giving this adjective to the noun time. He is calling time sluttish. He is saying time, like a slut, has bad habits. Bad habits of what? Of tarnishing, of spoiling monuments. So looking into details of what he is saying, not marble nor the gilded monuments. So he is saying neither this nor this. Not the buildings that are made of marble. Marble is supposed to be very strong. Neither those which have a plating of gold on it. That means they are very expensive buildings. These monuments are such that they have a gold plating on top. So a lot of time, effort, money has been spent in creating these monuments. So even these monuments of princes because it is the kings, it's the emperors, the sultans who make these monuments. So the marble monuments constructed by prince, the monuments with gold plating on them constructed by kings. So what about them? Shall outlive. Who shall outlive? The monuments. Such monuments will not outlive this powerful rhyme, this powerful poem. The monuments that have been constructed by kings and princes, by sultans and emperors, spend so much of money, so many people over so many years building each monument, they will perish. They will not outlive, they will not live longer than this poem which I am writing just now. This sonnet that we are talking about. The first two lines are saying that this poem that I am writing is going to live longer than these expensive monuments that have been constructed by the kings. But you shall shine more bright. Actually, it should be brighter. If you talk about adjectives of comparison, you have bright, brighter and brightest. So more bright actually becomes wrong English. But why is the poet doing it? He doesn't know English. He's from England. He is, instead of writing brighter, which is correct grammatically, he is writing more bright because he wants to give emphasis to that. By making a grammatical error, he is pulling the reader's attention to that. The fact that this poem that I am writing will shine brighter than in these contents, in the contents of shining, of outliving, of not perishing. It will shine brighter than the monuments, this poem. Than unswept stone. This poem will live longer than those monuments which are constructed of stone. Marble is a stone. It's after all a stone. Even if you have covered an entire building with gold, it's after all made of bricks. It's made of stone. And obviously those monuments which are not even taken care of, nobody is taking care of them. My poem will live longer than those monuments. Now these monuments, these stone monuments, besmeared with sluttish time. These monuments are spoilt. They are tarnished. By whom? By time. Time, who is sluttish by nature, who is like a person who has bad habits, not a good person. So in these two lines he is saying that my poem will outlive monuments that are made of stones which are not cared for, because time is going to ruin these constructions and my poem will live longer than them. This rhyme, this powerful rhyme is the very poem which he is writing. So I hope you have understood the first paragraph. Let us proceed to the second paragraph of the poem.
No more spending your energy and money on coaching classes, or missing classes for rain, for rally, and any other nonsense. Subjects covered by multiple teachers with repeat telecasts. Doubts, concepts, applications, no problem. All explained through great and significant animation. So sit back comfortably in your home and watch Study Spectrum TV channel.
Now that we have finished the explanation of the first paragraph, let us move on to the second paragraph. First I'll read out the paragraph to you, then I'll tell you the meanings of the new words, and then I'll go on to explain each line, what William Shakespeare is telling us. The second paragraph goes like this. When wasteful war shall statues overturn, and broils root out the work of masonry, nor mars his sword, nor war's quick fire, the living record of your memory. Not quick fire shall burn, the living record of your memory. This is the second paragraph, the next 4 lines of the poem. The first word we are looking at is Mars. By Mars over here, the poet is not meaning the planet Mars, but the Greek god of wars. The god of war, of battle, is Mars. So he is referring to that god. The next word we are looking at in the same line is quick. Wars, quick fire. This wars is not plural wars, but with an apostrophe S, like we say Sheila's t-shirt. So we mean that t-shirt which belongs to Sheila. So here wars, quick fire. So the fire that is caused because of war, war's fire. And what type of fire it is? It is quick fire. It is fast moving. It spreads out very quickly. A fire that is caused because of war. spreads very quickly. That is what he means here by this phrase, war's quick fire. Record. In the last line he is talking about the living record. By record he means this written memory of your life, this written memory of your life, which continues after you are dead. Which continues after you are dead. So even after a person has died, there is a living record of his memory. Like, for example, my great grandfather is dead, but in my memory, he is still alive. I remember him alive. So it's in my memory is a living record of a person who is already dead. So here he is talking about the memory of the poem in the reader's mind. Once the reader has read this poem, there is a record of that poem in his mind, and it's a living record because it is in the memory of a living person. So the record here, the living record here is the written memory of your life which continues after you are dead. So after a person is dead, you write about that person. So that's a record. And when you read something, it's in your memory. So it's a living record in your mind. I hope you are understanding what I am saying. Now let me explain to you line after line what Shakespeare is telling us. When wasteful wars he says are always wasteful. There is actually no returns, no gains out of a war. He's a poet. He's living in a time where there are lots of wars going on. And he is experiencing war as a thing which is completely wasteful, of no use, useless. So he's calling wars useless. So he says, when such wars which are actually useless shall statues overturn. Overturn means broken and fallen down. So at those times there used to be these huge statues and palaces and monuments, and what used to happen in wars is that one king would attack another king, and on attacking, what is the first thing they do? They destroy the monuments, the statues that king has built. So when such wasteful wars fought over boundaries of kingdoms will break the statues and break the monuments that king has built, when that happens, then what happens? And broils root out the work of masonry. Work of masonry. Who is a mason? A mason is a person who builds a wall with bricks. He does cementing work and puts brick over brick to make a wall. He's a mason. So work of masonry is all the buildings, all the monuments that have been built by that person, the mason. So work of masonry. So such wasteful wars are breaking the statues, overturning them, breaking the buildings and monuments that are built by numerous masons. The kings have spent so much money on building them, and in wars they are destroyed. They do not live, they perish, they are finished and forgotten. There is no record of them, it's just gone. Poof. Next line, not mars his sword. So the sword of the god of war. So now what he is saying is that not only human wars, but if there is a war that is on a very large scale, perhaps being fought by the god of wars, and the destruction that is caused is not a human destruction, but a destruction that is caused by the sword of a god who is the god of wars. So, nor mars his sword, nor war's quick fire. So neither the sword of Mars, matlab The war that is fought between humans destroys statues and buildings. But even if there is a war that is fought by gods of war and they are using their swords, neither those nor the devastating fire that is caused by war, neither that, none of these shall burn. This fire and this sword cannot destroy. Cannot destroy what? The living record. The living record of your memory. Something that is there in your memory. Can I take a sword and erase it? Can I cut it out? Can I take a fire and burn that part of your memory? Is it scientifically possible? Not possible. Even today not possible. When Shakespeare wrote the poem, that time also not possible. So he is saying, although wars that are fought between human beings will destroy these huge statues made of marble and covered with gold plating and destroy the monuments, but the living record of the memory of a poem that is in your memory, in your thoughts, cannot be destroyed, neither by human nor by gods of war, neither by the fire that is caused by war. So that is what he is continuing the thought that he has said in the first paragraph. That my rhyme, my song, my poem is more powerful than these marble monuments and these huge statues which the kings have built. This thought has continued in the second paragraph. Let us move on to the third paragraph. Now moving on to the third paragraph of the poem, the next 4 lines. In the third paragraph he is saying, "'Gainst death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth, your praise shall find room, even in the eyes of all posterity," not prosperity, posterity, "that wear this world out to the ending doom." Out to the ending doom. Let us first look at the new words in this paragraph. Gainst. Gainst, what he means is the old English for the word against. Against death. Something that is going against death. Oblivious enmity. Enmity is a emotion that you have for an enemy, is enmity. Now, oblivious enmity. Oblivious means something that you are not aware of. We are oblivious to certain facts that are occurring around us. We don't know that they are happening. We are oblivious. So, it is not in the realm of our knowledge. So, oblivious enmity. An enmity that you don't even know you have. You don't even know that you are against that person. Oblivious enmity. Enmity which is forgetful of everything. What he means by oblivious enmity is not that it's an enmity that you don't even know you have. It's poetic language. What he means to say is an enmity, the feeling of hatred towards somebody, which makes you oblivious of everything else around you. That enmity has so taken over you that you have forgotten everything else. And thus, the destruction that you cause because of that enmity wants to destroy everything. There is no rationality left. There is no thought process left as to what you are doing and to what extent you are doing. That is oblivious enmity, what Shakespeare is saying. Then posterity. It's not prosperity, it's posterity. Posterity means the future generations, the people that are going to be born after and after and after us. The future, like we say forefathers, we don't mean our immediate grandfather or great grandfather, we mean their grandfathers, grandfathers, grandfather. So we are talking about forefathers. So this is future generations, posterity, forever. And then doom. The meaning of doom is a doomsday. The religious books are talking about, mostly the Bible is talking about a day which is known as a doomsday, which is going to be the day when all we people, mortal souls who have lived on this earth, after we are dead, our souls will be present in front of the supreme power called God. And that God will call a judgment, like a judge takes a call on what you have done, whether it was good, whether all your deeds were in a manner which was better for everyone around you, or whether it was harming, whether it was an evil deed. So that day when God will sit and pass this judgment, whether what you have done ends up to be a positive or a negative, that day is known as doomsday. So in reference to that doomsday, Shakespeare is saying the ending doom, supposed to be the last day. So the ending doom. So what is he saying in the first line of this paragraph? Against death and all oblivious enmity. So against death, because death will not perish your living record of the memory of the poem that I have written. So even against death and even against oblivious enmity, enmity which is to a degree which wants to destroy everything, even to that level, shall you pace forth. Pace forth means stride forward, to walk ahead, like Mahatma Gandhi used to walk, walk ahead with power. So shall you pace forward. So even against death and even against an enmity which is very powerful, you shall walk forward. Your praise shall find room. The praise that you have, the appreciation that you have for this poem that I have written will walk forward, will move ahead of your death. Even after you have died, the appreciation that you had for this poem that I have written, that praise will move ahead even after you have died. Even in the eyes of all posterity, of all the future generations that have to come, who are going to read the appreciation of what you have written for my poem. So even after you are dead, the appreciation that you had for this poem is going to be seen by the future generations. I will die, the monuments will perish, your living record will perish, but the appreciation that you have for this poem will be seen by the future generations. That where this world means that are living on this earth, out to the ending doom. So those future generations who are going to live after us, who are going to continue on this earth till the doomsday, will keep coming to know about my poem. In a way, Shakespeare was very correct, because he is one poet whose poetry has lasted over time. We are still studying Shakespeare, and how. He is a poet whose poems have not only outlived him, but his poems have outlived so many generations. And as we perceive it, as English teachers, what we perceive is that Shakespeare's poetry is going to be studied for a very long time. So that is exactly what he is saying in this poem, that although monuments may perish, but my poetry will continue. And in a way it is true. You cannot erase it. You cannot have it finished and forgotten. That is all that he is saying. So in the first paragraph, he has presented a thought. In the second paragraph, he has gone forward with the same thought. And in this third paragraph, he has consolidated this thought that my poem, the poetry that I have written, is going to be studied by all the future generations to come. Now we have finished the 12 lines of the poem. We are left with one single octave, one single couplet, the last 2 lines of the poem. So let us move ahead and study the last 2 lines of the poem. Now we have finished the 3 paragraphs of the poem. Now in the last 2 lines, the couplet, what is he saying? He is saying, so till the judgment that yourself arise, so till the judgment that yourself arise, you live in this and dwell in lover's eyes. These are the last 2 lines of the poem. The difficult words of the poem, the judgment. Firstly, he has misspelled the judgment. Judgment needs to have an E over here. And I told you the poet is doing these things using wrong grammar at times, using a wrong spelling at times, not because Shakespeare's spellings are weak. He is doing this because he wants to draw the reader's attention to that. He's already spoken about the doomsday. Now he's talking about judgment. Again, this judgment is the day of the last judgment, when God is going to sit and going to declare whether you've been a good person or you've been a bad person. And then obviously if you've been a good person all your life, if your good deeds are more than your evil deeds, you go to heaven. And if your deeds are bad, you go to hell. There's a joke wherein they say, what happens if after you die and you go up there to God and God says, so how was heaven? So what is in store for you is hell, and earth itself was heaven. Anyway, what we hope is our hell is this earth and we can go ahead to a better place called heaven after we die, because we do good deeds. So he is referring to that judgment day. Now he is saying, so till the judgment day. By saying till the judgment day, he is saying till the last day on this earth, till humankind goes on, till that day, that yourself arise. You yourself is going to arise till that day. You live in this, you the reader who is sitting there and reading this poem. You live in the poem itself. In the poem itself, the reader is alive and dwell in the lover's eyes. You dwell, you live in the lover's eyes. Now pay attention to this lover. The apostrophe is not between the R and the S as we would generally expect it to be. Generally what we see is L-O-V-E-R apostrophe S, meaning lover's eyes, meaning the eyes of the lover. Now what happens here is this is a single lover and we are talking about his eyes. What if I am talking about many lovers? Then already it becomes L-O-V-E-R-S. Then if I am talking about many lovers' eyes, am I supposed to put L-O-V-E-R-S apostrophe S and say lovers' eyes? No. What happens in grammar? This is correct grammar. This S over here is omitted. So I simply mean lovers, which is plural, and then put the apostrophe after the S, meaning possession. So lover's eyes, not one lover's eyes, but many lovers' eyes. You are going to live and you are going to stay in the lover's eyes, lovers of the poem. Those who are appreciating your appreciation for the poem. See, it's a complicated thought that Shakespeare has beautifully put across in words, in the form of poetry, in the form of a sonnet. All we need to know is what is the thought he is putting across, so that we are able to answer the questions that are going to be asked in the exam. Okay, so in the first paragraph, my poetry is going to live longer than the monuments. Same thought continued in the second paragraph. Same thought consolidated in the third paragraph. And the fourth paragraph, which is just a couplet of 2 lines, he says that you, the reader of this poem, is going to live in the poem itself, because the memory of the poem cannot be erased. So I hope you have enjoyed this explanation of the poem, and however difficult you found it on reading it, I hope this explanation that I have offered will help you to understand what the poet is saying, so that you can put it across in your exam and get your marks. So for more such explanations on chapters that you find difficult, stay tuned to Study Spectrum. We will look forward more into the question answers of the poem.